The morning started like any other morning on Earth Defense Station Olympus. Admiral Kang Daeho sat in his command chair drinking his third cup of coffee. He watched the screens showing empty space around Earth. Nothing ever happened here. His job was boring and he liked it that way. Then the alarms started screaming. Daeho jumped up so fast that his coffee flew across the room. His hands gripped the edge of his command console. The screens were going crazy. Red lights flashed everywhere. Numbers ran up the displays faster than he could read them. "Sir, we have multiple contacts," shouted Commander Oyuna from her station. Her voice shook. "They just appeared out of nowhere. 500 ships, maybe more." Daeho stared at the main screen. His mouth fell open. Huge ships filled the space above Earth. They were massive, each one bigger than a city. Their hulls were dark gray and covered with weapons. These ships looked nothing like anything humans had ever built. They looked alien. They looked dangerous. "Get me President Choi Min-ho," Daeho said. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "Get me everyone. This is not a drill." Down on Earth, Dr. Park Ji-yu was teaching a class about alien life. She was a scientist who studied the possibility of life on other planets. She always told her students that if aliens existed, humans would probably meet them someday. She never thought that day would be today. Her phone rang. It was a government number. Her heart started beating fast. "Dr. Park, we need you at the Global Defense Headquarters immediately," said a serious voice. "Aliens are here. Real aliens. In our orbit. Right now." Ji-yu dropped her phone. Her students stared at her. She picked up the phone with shaking hands. "I'll be there in 20 minutes, she whispered. At the military base outside Seoul, Captain Lee Bora ran to her fighter jet. She had been a pilot for 10 years, but she had never seen her commanders look so scared. They gave her quick orders. "Get in the air. Stay ready. Don't attack unless ordered." Bora climbed into her cockpit and started the engines. Through her canopy, she could see the alien ships in the sky. They looked like dark clouds blocking out the sun. She had trained her whole life to protect Earth. Now she wondered if her training would be enough. The alien ships stayed silent for 2 hours. The whole world watched and waited. Every country on Earth had their militaries on alert. People in the streets looked up at the sky. Some people prayed. Some people cried. Everyone was afraid. Then a message came. It was in a strange language at first, but the aliens had studied human broadcasts. They had learned to speak English. Their message played on every screen, every radio, every phone on Earth. "Humans of Earth," the message began. The voice was deep and cold. It did not sound friendly.
"I am Supreme Commander Thivax of the Velcaran Dominion.
Your planet is now part of our empire. We have conquered 40,000 worlds. You are just one more." President Choi Min-ho sat in the emergency command room with his top advisors. General Nam Hyewon stood beside him. Dr. Park Ji-yu had just arrived. They all listened to the alien message with horror on their faces. "You have 24 hours to decide," Commander Thivax continued. "Surrender completely. Give us control of your governments. Give us 30% of your population to work as slaves. Give us all your weapons. If you agree, most of you will live. If you refuse, we will destroy your cities one by one until you beg us to stop." The message ended. Silence filled the command room. 30%, whispered one advisor. That's over 2 billion people. They want 2 billion slaves. President Choi looked around the table. "We need options. Someone tell me we have options." General Nam Hyewon stood up. She was a small woman, but everyone respected her. She had been in the military for 40 years. She knew things that most people did not know. "Mr. President," she said quietly, "I need to show you something. Something we've kept secret for a very long time." She pressed a button on her tablet. A video started playing on the big screen. It showed an ocean. The date on the video said 2107. That was 80 years ago. 80 years ago, an alien ship crashed in the Pacific Ocean, General Nam explained. It was damaged. The crew died. But before they died, our scientists got into their computers. We learned everything. We learned about the Velcaran Empire. We learned they would come for us someday. More videos played. They showed scientists studying the crashed ship. One young scientist appeared again and again in the footage. His name was Dr. Yoon Taejin. He was the one who figured out how to read the alien computers. Dr. Yoon discovered that the Velcaran Empire was huge. General Nam continued. He learned they had been conquering planets for 5,000 years. He knew they would find Earth eventually, so he recommended that we prepare, in secret. President Choi stared at the screen. What kind of preparation? General Nam smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. Every kind, Mr. President. We've spent 80 years building weapons these aliens have never seen. We've been ready for this day since before you were born. She pressed another button. New images appeared. They showed massive underground facilities. Weapons that looked impossible. Ships that could disappear. Technology that seemed like magic. The moon, General Nam said. We hollowed out part of the moon. Inside are 300 warships. The Velkaran have no idea they're there. We have defense platforms hidden as mining stations. We have quantum weapons that can tear their ships apart. We have gravity bombs that can crush metal like paper. Admiral Kang Deho was listening to this conversation through his communication link on the space station. His eyes were wide. General, are you telling me that Olympus Station isn't just a monitoring station? That we've been sitting on top of weapons this whole time? Yes, Admiral, General Nam replied. Your station has enough firepower to destroy 100 alien ships. You just didn't know it because you didn't need to know it. Until now. Up in orbit, the Velkaran fleet waited. On the flagship, Commander Thivak sat on his command throne. He was old even for his species. He had lived for 400 years and had conquered 200 planets. Earth would be easy. Humans were primitive. They had barely left their own planet. They would surrender like all the others. War Mistress Krelva stood beside him. She looked at the scans of Earth's defenses. They have missiles and some plasma weapons, she reported. Nothing we haven't seen before. This will be over quickly, Thivax nodded. Send the message again in 12 hours. Remind them of their deadline. Let them think about watching their cities burn. Back on Earth, President Choi Min-ho made his decision. He stood up and looked at everyone in the room. How long until we're ready to fight? General Nam checked her tablet. We can be fully ready in 20 hours. We'll use the last 4 hours of their deadline to get everyone in position. Then we fight, the president said. Get me a communication channel to address the world. If we're going to do this, everyone needs to know the truth. No more secrets. 3 hours later, President Choi appeared on every screen on Earth. He looked tired but determined. My fellow humans, he began. For 80 years we have kept a secret. We knew this day might come. We prepared for it. The aliens think we are weak. They think we will surrender. They are wrong. He explained everything. The crashed ship. The secret weapons. The decades of preparation. People around the world watched in shock. Then the shock turned to something else. Hope. We will not surrender, President Choi declared. We will not give them our people as slaves. We will not give up our freedom. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We will survive this too. They came to conquer us. We will show them why that was a mistake. Captain Lee Bora sat in her fighter jet listening to the president's speech. She felt something change inside her. The fear was still there, but now there was something stronger. She looked at the alien ships above and whispered to herself, Come on then. Let's see what you've got. The countdown had begun. 24 hours until the Velkaran deadline. But the aliens did not know that humanity was not counting down to surrender. They were counting down to war, and this time humanity was ready. The clock showed 12 hours until the Velkaran deadline. Captain Lee Bora sat in the pilot briefing room with 200 other fighter pilots. Everyone looked nervous. Colonel Baek Min-seo stood at the front of the room. He was known for being tough, but today he looked different. He looked excited. Everything you thought you knew about your fighters is wrong, he told them. For the last 10 years, you've been flying training versions. Tomorrow you'll fly the real ones. They can do things you won't believe. He pressed a button. A video showed a fighter jet disappearing and reappearing somewhere else. It looked like magic. Quantum shift drives. Colonel Beck explained. You can phase through solid objects. Enemy shields mean nothing. You can fly right through them and attack from inside. Bora felt her heart race. This changed everything. She raised her hand. Sir, how long have we had this technology? 70 years, he answered. We've been waiting for the right moment to use it. That moment is now. While the pilots learned about their new fighters, Dr. Park Ji-yu sat in a secure lab studying the alien communications. She had been listening to the Velkaran fleet's transmissions for hours. They spoke in their own language, but human computers had cracked it quickly. What she heard worried her. They're too confident, she told General Nam Hyewon. They're not even trying to hide their communications. They think we can't understand them. They think we're no threat at all. General Nam smiled. Good. Let them think that. What else have you learned? Jiu pulled up data on her screen. Their whole fleet is connected. Every ship, every weapon, everything runs through one central computer system. They call it a war mind. It controls everything using quantum communication. They think it's unhackable because no one has ever hacked quantum systems before. Can we hack it? General Nam asked. Jiu looked up with a strange expression. We already did. 80 years ago when we studied the crashed ship. We've had access to their system protocols this whole time. We just needed them to get close enough to upload our virus. 8 hours before the deadline, Captain Lee Bora got a special mission. She was told to fly a small shuttle up to the alien fleet. The mission was supposed to be diplomatic. She would pretend to negotiate with them. But that was not the real mission. You'll carry microscopic drones, Commander Jiang Siwu explained to her. They're smaller than dust. When you get close to their ships, release them. The drones will attach to their hulls and upload a virus into their network. They'll never know what hit them. Bora nodded. She understood. This was the most important mission of her life. If she failed, the war might be much harder. If she succeeded, humanity would have a huge advantage. She flew her shuttle up toward the massive alien flagship. Her hands were sweating inside her gloves. The alien ship was so big it blocked out the stars. She had never felt so small. Human vessel, state your purpose, came a cold voice over her radio. I'm here to discuss the terms of surrender. Bora lied. Her voice stayed calm even though her heart was pounding. My government wants to negotiate. There was a pause. Then the voice said, Hold your position. Do not approach closer. Perfect. She was close enough. Bora pressed a hidden button. The microscopic drones shot out from her shuttle in an invisible cloud. They drifted toward the alien ships like dust in the wind. Within minutes, they attached to hundreds of vessels and began uploading the virus. We have received your request, the alien voice said. Return to your planet. We will contact you when we are ready to accept your surrender. Bora turned her shuttle around and flew back to Earth. She allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had no idea what she had just done. On the alien flagship, Commander Thivax watched the human shuttle leave. They're ready to surrender already, he said to War Mistress Krelva. I told you this would be easy. Krelva looked at the scans of Earth. Their defenses are weak. Old missiles and basic plasma cannons, nothing we haven't defeated 1,000 times before. What they did not see were the quantum signatures hidden deep underground. They did not see the weapons disguised as mining stations. They did not see the warships hidden inside the moon. The Velkaran scanners were looking for technology they understood. They completely missed everything else. With 6 hours left, engineer Shin Young-hee worked in a secret facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean. She was making final adjustments to humanity's most powerful weapon. It was called a quantum disruptor. It could create waves of energy that would interfere with any quantum system, including the Velkaran war mind. System check complete, she reported to General Nam. All quantum disruptors are online and ready. When we activate them, the alien fleet will lose coordination. Their ships won't be able to talk to each other. How long will it take to affect their whole fleet? The general asked. Young-hee checked her calculations. 30 seconds, maybe less. The virus Captain Lee delivered will make sure the disruption spreads through their entire network instantly. Around the world, hidden facilities came online. Weapons that had been disguised for decades revealed their true purpose. Mining stations in the asteroid belt transformed into battle platforms. Research satellites became armed destroyers. The moon itself prepared to open and release its hidden fleet. Dr. Kim Isul sat in the command center of the Quantum Weapons Division. She had spent her entire career developing weapons that most people did not know existed. Now she would finally see if they worked as planned. Her screen showed the status of every weapon system. Green lights everywhere. Everything was ready. She thought about her grandmother who had worked on the original crashed alien ship. Her grandmother had started all of this. Now it was time to finish it. With 3 hours remaining, President Choi Min-ho made one more broadcast to Earth. This time, his message was different. He looked straight into the camera with fire in his eyes. "My fellow humans," he said, "in 3 hours we will give the Velcaran Empire our answer. It will not be the answer they expect. They came here thinking we were primitives. They thought we would be easy to conquer. They studied our broadcasts and saw our conflicts. They saw us fighting each other and thought we were weak." He paused and leaned forward. "But they made a mistake. Yes, we fight each other. We have wars and disagreements. But when something threatens all of humanity, we remember something important. We remember that before we are citizens of different countries, we are all human. And humans do not surrender. Not to anyone. Not ever." People around the world listened. In homes and shelters, in bunkers and basements, humans heard their president speak. Fear was still there, but something else grew stronger. Unity, purpose, determination. "The Velcaran think they know us," President Choi continued. They don't. They don't know that we split the atom and then stopped ourselves from destroying our own planet. They don't know that we turned our worst enemies into allies. They don't know that we domesticated wolves and made them our friends. They think they're the apex predators. They're about to learn they're wrong. With 1 hour left, Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of Olympus Station. Commander Oyuna stood beside him. Below them, hidden panels were sliding open. Weapons that had been disguised as communications equipment were powering up. "I've been stationed here for 5 years," Yuna said quietly. "I never knew any of this was here." Dae-ho nodded. "I've been here 10 years, I didn't know either. But now I understand why they put me here. They needed someone who could keep a secret without knowing what the secret was." The countdown continued. 30 minutes. 20. 10. Every human military force was in position. Every weapon was ready. Every soldier, every pilot, every crew member waited for the signal. On the Velcaran flagship, Commander Thivax checked the time. The human deadline was almost over. He prepared to send the final warning, the one that would tell them to surrender or die. But he never got the chance to send it. With 30 minutes still remaining before the deadline, General Nam Hai-wan gave the order that changed everything. "All units," she said calmly into her communication system. "This is General Nam. Execute Operation Prometheus. Attack now. Show them what humans can do." Across the solar system, humanity struck first, and the Velcaran Empire learned that they had made the biggest mistake in their 5,000-year history. They had threatened Earth, they had threatened humanity, and humanity was done being threatened. The first sign that something was wrong came from the Velcaran sensor stations. Alarms started beeping across the fleet. War Mistress Krelva stared at her displays in confusion. Objects were appearing on their scanners. Lots of objects. Coming from everywhere. "Sir, we have incoming vessels," she shouted to Commander Thivax. "They're coming from behind the moon, from the asteroids, from everywhere." "Where did they all come from?" Before Thivax could answer, the moon itself began to change. Massive doors opened across its surface. Light poured out from inside. Then ships emerged. Hundreds of ships. They had been hiding inside the moon the whole time. "That's impossible," Thivax whispered. "They couldn't have hollowed out their moon. That would take centuries of work." But it was happening. The human fleet was bigger than anyone expected. And it was moving fast. Incredibly fast. Admiral Kang Dae-ho stood on the bridge of Olympus Station and gave his orders. "All batteries fire at will. Target their command ships first. Let's cut the head off this snake." The station's hidden weapons revealed themselves. What looked like communication arrays transformed into massive plasma cannons. They fired streams of superheated energy at the Velcaran fleet. The beams hit alien shields and burned right through them. "Impossible," Krelva screamed. "Their weapons shouldn't be that powerful. Our shields should stop them." She tried to return fire, but her weapon systems were acting strange. Targeting computers were giving wrong information. Weapons were aiming at empty space. Something was wrong with their network. Dr. Kim Il-sol watched from her command center as the virus took effect. The microscopic drones that Captain Lee Bora had released were doing their job. The virus was spreading through the Velcaran war mind like wildfire. "Virus is active," she reported. "Their network is compromised. We're not just reading their communications now. We're predicting their commands before they give them. This was the secret weapon's true power. The virus did not destroy the Velcaran systems. It watched them. It learned from them. And then it told human computers what the enemy would do next. It was like playing chess against someone who could read your mind. Captain Lee Bora led her squadron of 200 fighters straight toward the alien fleet. Her new fighter felt different. More powerful, more responsive. She activated the quantum shift drive. Reality bent around her fighter. 1 second she was outside the alien formation. The next second she was inside it. She had phased right through their shields like they were not even there. All fighters engage, she commanded. Remember your training. Phase through their hulls. Hit them from inside. Make every shot count. Her squadron followed her lead. 200 fighters disappeared and reappeared inside the Velcaran formation. They fired their weapons at point-blank range. Alien ships exploded from within. There was no defense against an attack that came from inside your own shields. Thivax watched in horror as his fleet began to fall apart. Ships were exploding everywhere. Human fighters were appearing and disappearing like ghosts. His weapons could not track them. His shields were useless. Return fire, he roared. Destroy them! But the Velcaran weapons could not find targets. The human ships moved in ways that made no sense. They changed direction without slowing down. They appeared in multiple places at once. Some of them seemed to ignore gravity completely. Colonel Bayek Minseo commanded the stealth ship Silent Guardian. His vessel was coated with dark matter, making it completely invisible to any scanner. He could fly right up to an enemy ship and they would never see him coming. He approached a massive Velcaran dreadnought. The ship was 3 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy a city. But it never saw him. He flew right up to its bridge section and fired a single missile. The missile was small, but it did not need to be big. It was filled with antimatter. It penetrated the dreadnought's hull and detonated inside the ship. The explosion tore the massive vessel in half. Thousands of Velcaran died in an instant. Minseo thought of his daughter, Baek Jinha, watching from Earth. He had promised her he would come home. He intended to keep that promise. He targeted the next enemy ship. Commander Jiang Siwu activated the orbital defense platforms. What the Velcaran thought were mining stations suddenly revealed their true purpose. Massive gravity generators powered up. They created artificial gravity wells that could crush anything caught inside them. 3 Velcaran cruisers flew into range of one platform. Siwu activated the gravity well. Instantly, the 3 ships were pulled together by forces they could not resist. Metal screamed and buckled. The 3 ships crashed into each other and crumpled like paper. None of the crew survived. Gravity well generator working as designed, Siwu reported calmly. Targeting next group of enemy vessels. The battle was not even 15 minutes old and the Velcaran fleet was already in chaos. Ships exploded constantly. Communications were jammed. The Warmind was giving contradictory orders. Nothing was going according to plan. Krelva tried desperately to restore order. All ships disconnect from the network. Switch to local control. But it was too late. The virus had spread everywhere. Even ships running on local control were affected. The virus had embedded itself so deeply that it could not be removed without shutting down every system. And if they shut down their systems in the middle of a battle, they would be helpless. Engineer Shin Young-hee activated the solar collectors. These were massive arrays positioned near the sun. They collected solar energy and focused it into concentrated beams. Each beam carried the power of a nuclear explosion. Solar cannons charged and ready, she reported. Firing, beams of pure solar energy shot across space. They moved at the speed of light. The Velcaran ships never saw them coming. When the beams hit, they cut through armor like it was made of butter. Ships were sliced in half. Explosions lit up the darkness of space. 47 minutes after the battle began, the human commanders paused to assess the situation. The numbers were shocking. Of the 500 Velcaran warships, 200 were already destroyed. The humans had lost 14 fighters. That was all. 14 fighters against 500 capital ships, and humanity was winning. Admiral Kang Daeho could hardly believe what he was seeing. Commander Yuna confirmed those numbers. 200 enemy ships destroyed. Confirmed, sir, Yuna replied. Her voice shook with emotion. We're actually doing it. We're winning. On the Velcaran flagship, Thivax finally understood the terrible truth. These humans were not primitive. They had been pretending. They had let the Velcaran think they were weak. They had waited for the perfect moment to reveal their true strength. How? He whispered. How did they hide all of this? How long have they been preparing? Krelva pulled up old data files. Her eyes went wide. Sir, there's a record here. 80 years ago, one of our scout ships went missing near this system. It was listed as lost to engine failure. But what if it wasn't? What if it crashed here? Thivax felt cold fear spread through his body. They found it. They studied it. They learned about us, and they've been preparing for 80 years. He looked at the battle display. Human ships were everywhere, and more were still coming. We walked into a trap they set before we even knew this planet existed. Captain Lee Bora reformed her squadron for another attack run. Her fighter had some damage, but nothing serious. She looked at the alien fleet and felt something she never expected to feel. Pity. These aliens had conquered thousands of worlds. They thought they were unstoppable. They were learning a hard lesson. All fighters, one more pass, she commanded. Let's finish this. Her squadron dove back into the enemy formation. More Velcaran ships exploded. More lives ended. The battle raged on, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Humanity had surprised the galaxy. The Velcaran Empire had come to conquer Earth. Instead, they found their worst nightmare. They found a species that was smarter, tougher, and far more dangerous than they ever imagined. And the battle was not even half over. Commander Thivax made the hardest decision of his 400-year life. His fleet was dying. More than half of his ships were gone. The humans were not slowing down. If he stayed, every ship would be destroyed. There was only one choice left. All ships, he commanded. His voice sounded tired and defeated. Retreat. Activate faster than light drives. We're leaving this system. The remaining 300 Velcaran ships turned away from Earth. Their engines powered up. Energy gathered around them as they prepared to jump to faster than light speed. In seconds, they would be gone. They would escape to tell their empire what happened here. But the engines did not activate. The ship stayed in normal space. Alarms started blaring across the fleet. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Why aren't we jumping? Thivax shouted. What's happening? War Mistress Krelva checked her instruments. Her face went pale. Sir, there's some kind of field around the entire solar system. It's blocking our faster-than-light drives. We can't leave. We're trapped. General Nam Hewan smiled when she saw the Velcaran ships trying to escape. She activated her communication channel. Engineer Young-hee, activate the quantum inhibitor fields. Don't let any of them leave. Already done, General, Young-hee replied. The fields have been active since the battle started. They never had a chance to run. The quantum inhibitor fields were positioned all around the solar system. They created a barrier that made faster-than-light travel impossible. The Velcaran fleet was caged, and humanity was the predator stalking them inside that cage. All units, General Nam commanded. The enemy is trapped. Show no mercy. Destroy them all. What followed was not really a battle anymore. It was an execution. Human ships surrounded the Velcaran fleet from all sides. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Commander Jang Siwu activated more gravity well generators. Velcaran dreadnoughts were crushed like tin cans. The sound of tearing metal echoed across communication channels. Ships that had survived for centuries were destroyed in seconds. Engineer Shin Young-hee fired the solar collectors again and again. Each blast of concentrated sunlight cut through multiple ships. The beams were so powerful that they did not just destroy ships. They vaporized them completely. One moment a ship was there. The next moment it was just a cloud of atoms. Captain Lee Bora led her squadron on run after run. Her quantum shift drive let her phase through enemy formations. She appeared inside their shields, fired her weapons, and disappeared before they could respond. It was like fighting ghosts. The Velcaran had no defense. On the Velcaran flagship, War Mistress Krelva made one last desperate attempt. If they were going to die, they would take Earth with them. She activated the planetary bombardment systems. Every ship in the fleet that could still fire would target Earth's major cities. They would launch everything at once. Target coordinates locked, she reported to Thivax. All remaining ships ready to fire. If we die, they die with us. Thivax nodded. Fire everything. Destroy their world. Krelva pressed the firing command. The weapons activated. Energy gathered in the massive cannons. And then something impossible happened. The weapons turned around. Instead of firing at Earth, they fired at their own ships. Explosions ripped through the Velcaran fleet. Ships destroyed themselves with their own weapons. Krelva stared in horror. What's happening? Why are our weapons attacking us? Dr. Kimmy Sewell watched from her command center. The virus had done more than just predict enemy movements. It had taken complete control of their systems. When the Velcaran tried to fire on Earth, the virus redirected everything. Their weapons, their shields, their life support systems. Everything now belonged to humanity. The virus is now fully integrated into their network, Isol reported. They have no control over their own ships anymore. We own them completely. Dr. Park Ji-yu opened a communication channel to the Velcaran fleet. Her voice was broadcast to every surviving alien ship. She spoke calmly, but her words carried weight. Velcaran fleet, this is Dr. Park Ji-yu of Earth. You came here to conquer us. You thought we were weak because we had not spread across the galaxy like you. You were wrong. We were not weak. We were patient. We were waiting. She paused to let her words sink in. You have conquered thousands of worlds. You enslaved billions of beings. You thought nothing could stop you. But you forgot something important. The most dangerous species is not the one that conquers everything. It's the one that survives everything. Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, and wars that nearly destroyed us. We learned from every disaster. We grew stronger from every threat. And when you came here, we were ready. Across the Velcaran fleet, aliens listened to her words. Many of them were crying. They had never lost before. They did not know how to lose. Their empire had existed for 5,000 years. Now it was ending here, above a small blue planet they had thought would be easy prey. The battle ended 4 hours and 13 minutes after it began. The final count was devastating for the Velcaran. Of 500 warships, 487 were completely destroyed. 11 ships were disabled but intact. Only 2 ships remained functional, and those 2 were allowed to escape. Admiral Kang Daeho stood on the bridge of Olympus Station, watching the last 2 Velcaran ships limp away. The quantum inhibitor field opened a small gap to let them through. Commander Oyuna looked confused. Sir, why are we letting them escape? She asked. We could destroy them easily. Daeho smiled. It was not a kind smile. Someone needs to go back to their empire and tell them what happened here. Someone needs to warn the galaxy. If you threaten Earth, this is what happens. Let them spread the word. Let every alien civilization know that humanity is not to be trifled with. Earth's casualties were far smaller than anyone expected. 3 orbital stations had taken damage. 14 fighters were lost and their brave pilots with them. 112 humans died defending their world. It was a tragedy for each family that lost someone. But compared to what could have happened, it was a miracle. The captured Velcaran ships were taken to secure facilities. Human scientists were already examining them. Dr. Kim Il-sung smiled when she saw the technology. Much of it was actually less advanced than human technology. The Velcaran had been conquering for so long that they had stopped innovating. Humanity, forced to innovate or die, had leapfrogged ahead of them. President Choi Min-ho addressed the world once more. This time, his message went beyond Earth. Using the captured Velcaran communication networks, his words were broadcast across the galaxy to thousands of alien worlds. To any civilization that can hear this message, he began, I am President Choi Min-ho of Earth. Today, the Velcaran Dominion attempted to conquer our world. They demanded we surrender. They wanted to enslave billions of our people. They threatened to destroy our cities if we refused. He looked directly into the camera. We did not surrender. We fought back. And we won. Of 500 Velcaran warships, 487 are now debris floating in space. We did this in 4 hours. We did this without losing a single city. We did this because we were prepared. His voice grew stronger. Let this be a message to the galaxy. Earth seeks peace and friendship. We want to trade, to learn, to cooperate with other species. But we will never accept slavery. We will never surrender our freedom. We will never bow to tyrants. Any civilization that comes here with chains and demands will face the same fate as the Velcaran fleet. He paused, then finished with words that would echo across the galaxy for generations. We are not prey. We are not subjects. We are not primitives waiting to be conquered. We are human, and we bow to no one. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. The fear that had gripped the world for 24 hours was gone. In its place was pride, unity, hope. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and emerged victorious. Captain Lee Bora landed her fighter at the base. She climbed out and fell to her knees. She had been in her cockpit for 6 hours straight. Her body was exhausted, but she was alive. Earth was safe. That was all that mattered. Colonel Bayek Minseo returned to base and immediately called his daughter, Bayek Jinha. She answered on the first ring. "Dad, you're okay." "I told you I'd come home," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I always keep my promises. The war was over. Earth had won. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy now knew about humanity, and humanity had just announced itself in the most dramatic way possible. The future would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new adventures. But for now, Earth could rest. They had earned it. 3 months after the battle, the 2 surviving Velkaran ships finally reached their home empire. The journey took so long because their faster-than-light drives were damaged. When they arrived, the Velkaran High Council did not believe their reports at first. 500 ships destroyed by primitives? Supreme Chancellor Vorthan scoffed. Impossible. These captains are lying to cover their own failure. But then they reviewed the battle recordings. They watched human ships appear and disappear. They saw weapons that tore through Velkaran shields like they were made of paper. They watched their mighty fleet get destroyed in just 4 hours. The council chambers fell silent. Grand Admiral Nexith, the oldest and wisest military commander in the Empire, stood up. "We underestimated them. Badly. This was not luck. This was 80 years of careful preparation. They let us come to them. They let us think we were strong. Then they showed us the truth." "What do you recommend?" Chancellor Vorthan asked. Nexith looked around the council. "I recommend we never go near Earth again. Ever. These humans are more dangerous than any species we have ever encountered. If we attack them with our full military might, they will be ready. They were ready this time, and we had the element of surprise. Imagine what they could do if we gave them time to prepare for a second invasion." The Velkaran Empire began studying everything they could find about Earth. What they discovered terrified them more than the battle did. Human history was full of violence, but also incredible resilience. Humans had survived every disaster their planet threw at them. They turned wolves into pets. They split atoms and then decided not to destroy themselves. They fought wars that killed millions, then became allies with their former enemies. 1. Velkaran analyst wrote a report that became famous across the Empire. It said, "Humans do not conquer because they are powerful. They survive because they refuse to stay conquered. Every setback makes them stronger. Every threat teaches them new lessons. They are not warriors. They are survivors. And survivors are far more dangerous than conquerors." Word of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. The Velkaran Empire had ruled through fear for 5,000 years. Now that fear was broken. Species that had been enslaved for generations saw hope. If humans could defeat the Velkaran, maybe they could too. Rebellion started on dozens of Velkaran-controlled worlds. The Empire's attention turned inward as they struggled to maintain control. They no longer had the resources to expand. They were too busy trying to hold on to what they already had. Meanwhile, Earth received its first friendly alien visitors. The Mercadian Coalition was an alliance of peaceful trading species. They had heard President Choi's broadcast and wanted to meet these remarkable humans. Ambassador An Gyong was appointed as Earth's first representative to the galactic community. She was a skilled diplomat who had spent years negotiating peace between human nations. Now she would negotiate with aliens. Her first meeting with the Mercadian ambassadors went well. They were small, peaceful beings who had suffered under Velkaran threats for centuries. They wanted to trade with Earth and share technology, but they were also cautious. They had seen what humans could do in battle. "We come in peace," Ambassador An told them, "but we will always be ready for war. That is the human way. We hope for the best, but prepare for the worst." The Mercadians understood. They had survived by being peaceful and careful. Humans had survived by being prepared and dangerous. Both strategies had their place in the galaxy. Dr. Yoon Taejin, now 97 years old, was honored in a global ceremony. He was the scientist who had first studied the crashed alien ship 80 years ago. His work had saved humanity. President Choi personally gave him a medal. "I never wanted to build weapons," Dr. Yoon said in his acceptance speech. His voice was weak but clear. "I wanted to understand the universe. But when I learned about the Velcaran Empire, I knew we had to protect ourselves. Not because we wanted war, but because we wanted to prevent it. Sometimes the best way to avoid a fight is to make sure no one wants to fight you." Director Han Ji-won was put in charge of the new Terran Diplomatic Corps. Her job was to establish relationships with alien civilizations and make sure humanity was seen as a friend, not a threat. It was a difficult balance. Earth needed to be strong enough that no one would attack them, but friendly enough that others would want to cooperate. Captain Lee Bora was promoted to admiral. She was given command of humanity's first deep space exploration fleet. Her mission was to travel beyond the solar system and make contact with other species. She would carry President Choi's message of peace, but her ships would also carry the weapons that had destroyed the Velcaran fleet. Dr. Kim Il-sung began working with friendly alien species to share some of Earth's technology. Not the weapons, but the peaceful applications. Quantum drives that could help species travel faster. Medical technology that could save lives. Energy systems that were cleaner and more efficient. Humanity gave these gifts freely, building goodwill across the galaxy. General Nam Hee-won oversaw the creation of the Human Defense Initiative. Quantum beacons were placed at strategic points across nearby space. Each beacon broadcast a simple message in thousands of languages. "This space is protected by humanity. Any aggression against peaceful civilizations will be met with immediate response. We seek friendship, not empire. But we will not tolerate tyranny." Smaller alien species who had lived in fear of the Velcaran and other aggressive empires suddenly had a protector. They did not have to pay tribute or send slaves. They just had to agree not to attack others. Many species accepted this arrangement gladly. The Velcaran Empire eventually sent emissary Krith to negotiate a formal peace treaty with Earth. The meeting took place on a neutral space station. Ambassador An Gyeong represented humanity. Krith was old even by Velcaran standards. He had witnessed the Empire's rise to power. Now he was witnessing its decline. "We underestimated you," he said simply. "Yes, you did," An replied. "Don't make that mistake again." Krith studied the human ambassador carefully. "What stops your species from becoming what we are? What stops you from conquering weaker civilizations now that you have the power?" It was a good question. An thought about it carefully before answering. "We've spent thousands of years fighting each other. We know what tyranny looks like. We've lived under dictators and kings who thought they had the right to rule others. We've seen what happens when power goes unchecked. We fought wars to end slavery. We fought wars to stop genocide. We learned that power without wisdom destroys everything, including those who hold the power." She leaned forward. "We don't want an empire. We want partners. We want friends. We want to explore the galaxy and learn from other species. But we will protect the weak from the strong. We will stand against bullies and tyrants. That's what makes us different from you." The treaty was signed. The Velcaran Empire agreed to leave Earth and its allies alone. In return, humanity agreed not to encourage more rebellions in Velcaran space. It was not a perfect peace, but it was better than war. 10 years passed. Earth established diplomatic relations with 40 different alien civilizations. Some were more advanced than humanity, some were less. All of them treated Earth with respect. The story of the Velcaran fleet's destruction had spread far and wide. No one wanted to test humanity's defenses. The Velcaran dominion slowly fell apart. Worlds that had been conquered for centuries gained their independence. The empire that had ruled for 5,000 years fragmented into dozens of smaller nations. Some were still aggressive, but most chose peace. The age of galactic conquest was ending. Admiral Lee Bora stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Enduring Hope. It was a fitting name. The ship represented everything humanity had become. Strong enough to fight, wise enough to seek peace, and hopeful enough to believe in a better future. Her crew was a mix of humans and aliens working together. Her first officer, Lieutenant Ryu Seojin, approached her with a question. "Admiral, Do you think we'll face another invasion? Another empire that wants to conquer us? Bora looked out at the stars ahead of them. They were heading toward unexplored space, seeking new civilizations and new knowledge. Probably, she said honestly. The galaxy is a big place. There are probably other aggressive empires out there, but they'll have heard about what happened to the Velcarin. Next time, they'll try diplomacy first. They'll know better than to give us an ultimatum. And if they don't learn? Seojin asked. If they still try to threaten us? Bora smiled. It was not a cruel smile, but it was not entirely friendly either. Then we'll teach them. Just like we taught the Velcarin, humanity doesn't start fights, but we finish them. The enduring hope activated its quantum drives and jumped to faster than light speed. Behind them, Earth continued to spin through space. A beautiful blue and green world that had proven something important to the galaxy. The most dangerous mistake any civilization could make was assuming that kindness meant weakness. Humanity was kind to its friends and ruthless to its enemies. They offered peace to those who wanted it and war to those who demanded surrender. They were not conquerors seeking to rule the galaxy. They were protectors making sure no one else could.